Well, folks, the American people have spoken. In a stunning rebuke of the radical left, Donald J. Trump is back in the White House. The mainstream media, they're going to tell you it was a fluke, a surprise. They'll trot out their usual talking heads to spin the narrative, but we know the truth. This wasn't about luck. This was about the American people, the forgotten men and women rising up and taking back their country. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down the 10 core reasons why this victory happened. We're going to cut through the noise, the lies, and the spin, and get to the heart of what really matters. We're going to show you how President Trump, against all odds, exposed the failures of the radical left and reminded this country what it means to be strong, to be proud, and to put America first. This isn't just about one election, it's about the future of our nation. So buckle up, because we've got a lot to cover. You want to know why Donald Trump won? Take a look at your paycheck. Take a look at your 401k. Under the Biden-Harris administration, working Americans were struggling. Inflation was through the roof, gas prices were sky high, and good-paying jobs were disappearing faster than you could say China. Donald Trump, he understood the struggles of everyday Americans. He knew what it meant to build a business, to create jobs, and to fight for the American worker. He promised to bring back manufacturing, to unleash American energy, and to put more money in the pockets of hardworking families. And you know what? He delivered. The Trump economy was a juggernaut. Unemployment hit record lows, wages were rising, and the American dream was back within reach. But the Biden-Harris administration, they came in and tried to dismantle everything President Trump had built. They pushed their radical Green New Deal agenda, shut down pipelines, and sent our energy prices soaring. They told you it was about saving the planet, but we all know it was about control. They want to make you dependent on the government, reliant on their handouts. But the American people, they saw right through it, right? Let's be honest, folks, the Democrats never thought Donald Trump could win again. They underestimated him in 2016, and they did it again in 2024. They were so busy living in their coastal bubbles, so out of touch with the concerns of everyday Americans, that they didn't see it coming. President Trump, he ran a brilliant campaign. He went straight to the American people, bypassing the hostile media and their endless lies. He held massive rallies, energizing his base and connecting with voters on a personal level that the Democrats could only dream of. While Kamala Harris was busy trying to explain away her record and appease the radical left, President Trump was talking about the issues that mattered to real Americans. He talked about jobs, he talked about security, he talked about freedom. He reminded the American people that they were not alone, that he was fighting for them, and that together they could make America great again. The mainstream media, they love to paint a picture of America as a deeply divided nation. And while it's true that we have our differences, they always seem to miss the bigger picture. They focus on the fringes, the loudest voices in the room, and ignore the silent majority of Americans who just want to live their lives in peace. These are the hard-working men and women who play by the rules, pay their taxes, and love their country. They're tired of the division, tired of the chaos, and tired of being ignored by the political elite. And in 2024, they made their voices heard. They turned out in droves to elect Donald J. Trump, a man who they knew would fight for them, who would stand up for their values, and who would always put America first. The Democrats, they can try to spin it any way they want, but the numbers don't lie. This was a victory for the forgotten men and women of this country, a victory for the silent majority. Chapter 4, Media Meltdown, Exposing the Enemy of the People. Let's be honest, folks, the mainstream media is not the enemy of the people. They are the enemy of the American people. They've abandoned their duty to report the news fairly and accurately, choosing instead to push their own radical agenda. They're not interested in informing you, they're interested in controlling you. They want to tell you what to think, what to believe, and how to live your life. But the American people, they're not buying it anymore. Chapter 5, Securing the Border, Putting America First. For years, our southern border was a disaster, a complete and total disaster. Drugs were pouring in, criminals were crossing freely, and our national security was at risk. The Biden-Harris administration, they refused to even acknowledge the problem, let alone do anything about it. They called anyone who dared to raise concerns racist and xenophobic. But President Trump, he understood the importance of strong borders. He knew that a nation without borders is no nation at all. He promised to build the wall, to secure our border, and to put the safety of the American people first. Chapter 6. Peace through Strength, America, Respected Again. Under the Biden-Harris administration, America's standing in the world was in free fall. Our allies didn't trust us, our enemies didn't fear us, and our enemies were making moves all over the globe. But President Trump, he restored America's strength on the world stage. He rebuilt our military, stood up to our adversaries, and made it clear that America would no longer be pushed around. He negotiated historic peace deals in the Middle East, brought North Korea to the negotiating table, and stood strong against China's aggression. He understood that peace is not achieved through weakness, it's achieved through strength. Chapter 7, Law and Order Backing the Blue. The radical left, they want to defund the police, they want to let criminals run wild in our streets. They call it justice, but we all know it's chaos. President Trump, he stood with the men and women in blue. He knew that they were the thin blue line between order and anarchy. He gave them the resources they needed to do their jobs and defended them against the relentless attacks from the radical left. He understood that law and order are the foundation of a civilized society. The mainstream media, they thought they could silence Donald Trump. They banned him from Twitter, they censored him on Facebook, they did everything they could to shut him down, but they underestimated his ability to connect directly with the American people. President Trump bypassed the gatekeepers and took his message straight to the people, using social media to rally his supporters, expose the lies of the media, and get his message out unfiltered. He proved that in the age of social media, the people have the power. The presidential debates were a disaster for Kamala Harris. She couldn't defend her record, she couldn't articulate a clear vision for the future, and she couldn't land a punch on President Trump. He exposed her weaknesses, her radical agenda, and her lack of experience on the world stage. He showed the American people that she was simply not ready to lead. This wasn't just a campaign, it was a movement. Millions of Americans from all walks of life came together to support Donald J. Trump. They volunteered their time, they donated their hard-earned money, and they spread his message far and wide. They believed in his vision for America, they trusted him to lead, and they were determined to take back their country. These are the key reasons why Donald J. Trump won the 2024 election over Kamala Harris. It was a victory for the American people, a victory for common sense, and a victory for the future of our nation. But the fight is far from over. The radical left, they're not going to go down without a fight. They're going to continue to attack President Trump, they're going to continue to push their radical agenda, and they're going to continue to try to silence anyone who dares to disagree with them. We need to be prepared to fight back. We need to stay informed, we need to stay engaged, and we need to stand up for our values. The future of our country depends on it. Stay tuned for more in-depth analysis and updates.